Well, welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. You know, I always say today. Well, yeah, I got the man on the show today.
Okay.
This guy can make a 3-piece sound like a 7-piece, and a 7-piece sound like a Terry Bozzio drum kit. I was just watching some videos. You all know him. His credits includes B.B. Winans, Gerald Scott, Kelly Rowland. We're going to talk about the Backstreet Boys and so many more. He's a drummer's drummer. I'm glad to have him on the show. Glad to finally catch up with him.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let me say, if you will, help me welcome Jamal Moore. Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing? You all right?
Welcome to the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much. I know we got a chance to, kind of talk briefly, but I really, really do appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing right now. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part,
Thank you, man. I tell you, when I said a drummer's drummer, man, I was watching some video of you here and I said, he just keeps thinking on the drum kit. And he has, and I'm going to get to a section, we'll talk about that called drum technique. Yeah. But man, can he bury a one? You be sitting there going, where was the one again around here?
Oh my God, that's funny.
Buried the one from like the first bar.
Yeah, we gonna once we take off, don't even worry about it. We'll end the song, we'll finish it, it'll be done. You like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? And like, yeah, we got here, didn't we? We got here.
Let me go way back before we get to some of these awesome credits. Are you originally from Maryland?
Yep, I'm Maryland. Yep.
Are you still there, or are you out?
I'm still in Maryland. I'm still in Maryland.
Yeah, man.
I love Maryland.
You didn't want to get out of that cold weather and stuff?
I've lived in LA. I have family there, and so it's always easy for me to kind of go back and just be in LA and stay in LA and stuff like that. But my home, my family, I have 2 wonderful, beautiful kids, and everyone is on this side. So I don't like to I don't want to pretty much take my hands off of Maryland in totality, but I like the cold sometimes. You get to wear your hoodies and your coats and stuff like that. So I like the cold a little bit,
I don't know nothing about what you talking about.
I said, you said, I don't know nothing you talking about. Like, no. But, you can't beat the sunshine. We all need the sun, So I am very jealous. I can do the cold for about a good month. After that, I'm like, okay, I'm over it. I'm ready to do something else,
Let me ask this question. I was reading, you are PK, a preacher's kid?
Yes, I'm a preacher's kid. Yes, my dad has been pastoring for almost 37 years now, 36, 37 years. He's still pastoring, like he's still at it. I was born into the church, if that makes any sense. My dad started pastoring probably like 2 or 3 years before. Maybe 3 or 4 years before I was born. And so that's my family. That's my church family. I love them. Shout out to CNBC. That's my church family.
What's the name of the church?
Church is called Carolina Missionary Baptist Church. It is located in Fort Washington, Maryland, 9901 Allentown Road.
Tell me, how did you get acclimated to the drums at age 7? How did all that start? Did it start with the pots and pans and all that stuff?
It's exactly how it started. It actually started worse than that. I was taking my teddy bears and I was setting them up as a drum set. And my mom, like, she still has pictures of it. She's like, yo, look at you. You got the drum set set up, but those are teddy bears. And she brings them out and shows my kids now. So, yes, that's how it started for me. That's pretty much how it started.
Do you remember when you got your first drum kit?
Yep. I remember going to a famous, very, 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 very popular music store around here called Washington Music Center. We call it Chuck Levin's, but I went there and they had all these drums set up and stuff like that. And I told my dad, I'm like, I want that kit right there. So it was a Pearl Export, a Pearl, like the very first Pearl Export. I think it was black. It was jet black, and piano black is what they used to call it back in the day. And I actually still have it. I still have it because it's a part of my childhood memories,
Take me to high school. What was the scene in high school?
High school for me, I didn't go to art school. I went to a private Catholic school. So it wasn't the music department was really just kind of like the marching band, and we had the Christmas plays was really really big for my school. I went to Archbishop Carroll High School in Washington D.C.
Who were some of your influences during that time?
In my high school years, it was all local guys for me. You got the J.J. Williams, you got the Buggy Edwards, you have Aaron Spears, you have Tim Steele, and these are all guys that were like I could physically call them, and I could go sit down with them, and they can show me stuff, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So those are like those are my real not my real influence. Those were like major influences in my life. Of course, I watched the Dennises and I watched the Vinnies and I watched the Daves. It wasn't until later on in my years, probably like in my 20s, when I started to like venture off into other music. That's when I started to study other things and started to become acquainted with like a Virgil or Omar let's name somebody. Mike Portney. I love Mike Portney. They used to play with Dream Theater.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your credits. What's it like working with Kelly Rowland? Kelly
Rowland was sweet. She's such a sweetheart. It was fun. That I just remember it being fun. Her being so sweet, and her allowing us to play. That's another thing that I enjoyed a lot, because sometimes you run into artists who, and there's nothing wrong with this. Sometimes you run into artists and they want this, and I think that's great. And then you run into those artists who are like, yo, that is the record, but we hired you, so we want to figure out how we can get you involved in what the record is. And so what do you want to bring to the table? What is your creative process? Or how do you want to express yourself in this song? And we're not trying to take over the song, but more so like, what would you do right here? So I just remember it being super fun, her being super sweet, and it being an expressive place where we can just express ourselves on our instrument. So
let me throw another artist at you. BB Winans.
BB was short-lived, but it was fun. I have a horror story, not because of BB, but because of me. One of those gigs we were going to South Africa, I think, and I think that you have to have, I don't know if it's still this way, but I recall you having to have 3 free pages in your passport. And so I got to the airport and they wouldn't even let me get on the plane because I didn't have 3 free pages. And my dad was like, son, that's pretty cool, but you got to figure out how to get these pages on your passport ASAP, because you need to get on that flight, So I had to I made an appointment. It was an early morning flight, so we made an appointment that day. I took my passport and I was able to get on the flight the next day, but it kind of messed up my travel for me, because once I got there, I literally had to go straight to sound check and just play the music. I never got a chance to really like get comfortable. So I felt like that when I was playing. Like I just felt like I was antsy, and so I didn't really enjoy that gig. I didn't really get to enjoy it, but it was fun though. BB is a good guy, cool guy. Shout out to Danny Weatherspoon. He was the guy that referred me for that, or not referred me. He was the guy that was MDing for that gig at that very moment. So shout out to Danny for that.
You were musical director for CeeLo Green?
Yes.
How'd you get that?
How that came about. So Uncle Joe, I call him Uncle Joe, but Joe Flip Wilson, was MDing CeeLo at that very moment, or he was putting it together and MDing it. We can call it what it is. He was MDing it, putting it together, but he was also MDing and putting together some other things at the same time. So once he got things locked in, he got things squared away, he kind of just left me in charge, like, yo, nephew, make sure things are running smoothly, make sure if they have any questions, I'll make sure they ask you or whatnot. But he just kind of left me in charge. Thankfully, it was no issues. We never had any issues. Programming ran smoothly all of the time. And the players we had there were amazing. they were super amazing. Like Jarius and Eric Ingram, those guys are super amazing. So there was never any issues. We never had anything to kind of really worry about. And CeeLo was super cool to work with. So I you can consider it an MD thing, but it was nothing that really MD because we just kind of looked out for each other and just kind of made sure we were always straight, you know?
What a talented guy he is.
He is super talented. He is super, super, super talented. He is super, super, super talented.
You spoke about these guys earlier, but I wanted to ask you in this section here, Backstreet Boys, did you have to hit the routines and all that stuff too?
No, Backstreet Boys was perfect. Backstreet Boys is like, it was perfect for me because I got to see, before we even get to that, I didn't have to play. I didn't have to worry about their routines. Like they just wanted us to play. It was Dory LaBelle, Fred Williams, and Bryon Siono. Bryon Siono was the bass player. Fred Williams was the keyboard player, and Dory LaBelle was the guitar player. Dory ended up leaving, and Tim Stewart came out and finished out that run. But it was perfect because it was my first run, and I got to see like the tour life at its finest. Like, you know, we would go overseas and people would be waiting at the airport for them, you know, and like crowd, like rushing the airports and stuff like that. And, you know, I just really got to see and experience tour life, but I also got to learn, you know, and I think it was great because they were open to helping me learn, if that makes any sense. A lot of artists are kind of like in their thing. And so like, they don't really have time to stop and like cultivate or, you know, or kind of help somebody that's trying to figure it out. Like they kind of want you to be prepared already. And I was prepared. I wasn't like a slouch or anything like that, but it was a few things that just kind of needed like retooling. And so I'm thankful for those guys, and I'm thankful for not just, I still text the band to this day. I still text them and say, thank you for putting up with me on the road because I was young. And when you're young and you're 19, 20 years old, and you don't know what the road life is, you asking all the dumb questions or all the silly questions, and you saying the wrong things and playing the wrong things at the wrong time, and it was crazy.
I just have to laugh because I could just picture that you sitting 40 feet up on a riser going, what are we doing?
Exactly. Sometimes I'm looking around like, Jesus Christ, like what is going on here? It was so crazy. It was so surreal, but I'm thankful for those guys. Super, super thankful, man. And the list goes on.
Let me move you on. Let's do some drum talk. We haven't did any drum talk yet.
Let's do some drum talk. Let's do it.
Drum technique, the section I call drum technique.
Okay.
Jamal, what is your approach to the drums?
My approach to the drums, how can I, and I think I've said it in, you know, just kind of answering your questions, but how can I be effective, be creative, and still be effective, be creative, and still be understood. So like let's layer it. So me being creative, like that's something like I really I cherish. Like that's something I really worked hard on. Like, all right, cool. Like I can play this one thing 50 different ways, or I can play this with my one hand, or I can do this over here. So like that's me being creative, and like that's just the drummer side of me. Okay, let's be effective. Like this music has this type of swing to it and this type of grit to it and this type of groove to it. So I want to make sure that I'm being effective in this area and making sure that the artist and the audience can groove to this and understand the grit. But I also want to make sure like all of these things, or these two things that I named, is being understood, not just by myself and not just by the artist, but also understood by the audience. You know, like you said, at the end of the day, you know, it's about selling records. It's about, you know, making sure your audience is happy. And so it has to be understood, you know, it has to be, it has to be understood. So, you know, I try to approach drums like that, you know, the selfish me, when it's just me and I'm just thinking about, you know, music and stuff like that. I'm really just trying to be melodic on drums, melodic and creative. I love melodies. That's something I cherish in production because I'm in a production too. So I won't worry about the drums. I won't worry about the bass line. I'll hear melodies before I hear anything else. Like, yo, I hear this, I hear this, I hear that. So I'm always just trying to be melodic on drums. I'm always trying to feel like water, meaning like if you pour water into a bowl or anything like that, it's just going to just flow. So I want to be water, for lack of it. I don't want you to hear it broken up. I want it to kind of flow. What's another thing I think about when I'm approaching drums? How can I play the most craziest thing that you've ever seen? And like I do think about that at times. Like, okay, cool. I want to make this more difficult than, you know, we can play triplets like da 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 da. But how can I play this triplet with my left hand and my right hand over here and like it looked the coolest way? So I do think about that at times. Not at times. I think about that too a lot.
A little bit. Let's talk endorsements.
Cool.
What are you doing endorsements? Stick, heads, drums, social symbols?
My first endorsement was Vic Firth. My next endorsement after that was DW. My next endorsement after that was Remo. And my next endorsement after that was Zildjian. To me, I'm covering the ground basis. Now, of course, I have in-ears, clear tune monitors, CTM. Shout out to CTM. Of course, I've had some other, like, I'm not gonna say endorsements, but like sponsorships of people like wanting me to promote their product. But as far as my sound is concerned, it's been those companies.
Another thing on the show we call a word of advice.
Okay.
Where I asked the drummers, I asked the guests if they would leave a parting word of advice for, as I've mentioned, the young drummers, but even the guys at the next level, but that are trying to get traction in this game. Would you leave them a word of advice?
I think I said it earlier, but I would just say keep the main thing the main thing. We are in this world right now, in this space right now where people are chasing like clout or the clouts or hype. And I'm not dissing it. I understand it. And there's a level of appreciation for it. I understand like it serves a purpose. But at the end of the day, substance can never be beat ever. And so you can have all the followers in the world. If you cannot play to a click, if you can't groove, if you can't land on the one, if you can't control the song, if you can't make the artist happy, if you don't have an understanding of how music tells a story, it means nothing. You'll go home. You'll be at home with mad followers. And so, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's the truest thing I can say. Like, you gotta keep the main thing. Like, we can use LeBron. Like, LeBron came out of high school and you know, did this and did that, did this and did that. But if he didn't work on his mechanics, if he didn't work on like his post up, if he didn't work on having a better shot, if he didn't work on those things, then he would just be a kid that just came out of high school. And so it is very important that you keep the main thing, and you work on the main thing. And so that would be my advice to anybody. It don't have to be drums. It can just be, it can be art, it can be clothes, whatever it is. I think that it is important to have, if not, it's important to have substance. If not more than the hype, it's very, very important to have substance. So that would be my advice to anybody. That's my advice to myself. If I had to talk to my younger self, like, yo, keep the main thing the main thing. Things will come and the world is going to change. But when the road meets the rubber, you will be tested with that main thing. And the main thing needs to show itself.
I think you're an old soul in a young body.
I've been here before.
Just great jewels, just diamonds, just wisdom
sure. Yeah,
that you're giving. And I'm sure the viewers, the fans are really going to appreciate this.
Appreciate
a question for you. Jamal, what would you want your legacy to be? to be said, to be told?
Wow, that's a good one. A few things, man. To be honest, I would love for people to say, um, he was, he was hard and he was passionate, but it came from a sincere place. My heart is sometimes I feel like I get deemed as like the Kobe. Like, when I say Kobe, meaning like I'm hard on my friends, I'm hard on production when it comes to like, stuff. I want to run stuff over and over again. If I don't like it, I'm gonna voice my opinion. Um, and sometimes like, being vocal or just being not so much the opposite, but more so like wanting things to be right, you can get deemed as being a bad person. And so I'm not deemed as a bad person. I kind of check those boxes to make sure I'm not deemed as that person. But I just want to, I want my legacy to be like, yo, I cared about others. I wanted the best for others just as much as I wanted the best for myself. I helped others. Um, I was a no tolerant. I didn't put up with no BS. And I left something for my kids to not just say my dad was or my dad did, but more so like my dad gave me this, my dad left me with this, and he left us with something that we can nurture, something we can grow. And so um, and like everyone else, I want my legacy to be great. I want it to be good. I want people to speak well of me, but I want them to speak the truth. And if I hurt your feelings, I want them to say like, "Oh, he hurt my feelings," but I'm glad he hurt my feelings because I'm a better person for him hurting my feelings. Um, and so that's what I want, honestly, more than anything. Of course, I want them to talk about how amazing I was on drums, and I played this gig and I did this gig and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that's what they do. Um, but it's important that outside of all of that, like they knew like it came from a good place. It came from like my heart, and my heart is pure. And I know like at the end of the day, that's the only thing I can be judged for is my heart. And so outside of, I know it's kind of like probably more heavier than what the viewer wants to know. They probably like, oh, if you want them to say you play this gig when you smash this gig and stuff like that, and that's cool and all. But gigs are come and go. But like you said, like I want them to speak well of like me as a person, as my character. So when the gigs is gone and I don't got no more views on my videos and I don't have any more followers, I want to be like, yo, him as a person. Like I'm a better person because of him. I'm a better musician because of him. I'm a better person because he was around and he said something to me, or he enlightened me, or he inspired me. And so I'm rambling, but I really like, I just want my light to always shine, whether I'm here or not, and shine so much that people can pick up the light and go and walk in their dark places. And a candle. So I'm rambling, but this is really good. Like when you light a candle, sometimes you can light a candle and the candle can be on a stick. I don't know if you've ever been to but you can light a candle instead of them like using another match to light another candle. You can literally just take another candle and put on another candle. And so if I can just light other candles so that the world can be lighter, I'm with that.
Your kids gonna see this years from now.
For sure.
They're gonna say, man, great granddad, he was deep. He was
for sure. I'm with that.
That was great. I really appreciate you sharing your heart.
I appreciate you.
Sharing, being transparent like that.
Yeah.
Let me say thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we in here. I will show y'all all my drums and stuff like that, but I'm on my computer, so I can't show y'all all my drums. But just know,
will you help us wave goodbye to all the fans?
See y'all later. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much, Cheron, for having me. I appreciate you. Keep doing this. This is great. This is amazing. This is awesome because you ask the right questions and you have a heart for it. And I think that your light is going to light the world up as well. So keep being a light.
Coming from you, man, I might make this the last show. This would be my encore right here. Again, thank you so very much, okay?
No worries. Thank you.